Mario Kart 8, a game I bought when the Wii U was introduced and logged a great amount of time into. Even bought the DLC for that game. The course selection was great, and the retros, while not the strongest, had some of my personal favorites. The car handling was so smooth and the visual upgrades were so noticeable to me that over time, it became one of my favorite Mario Karts. When it was ported over onto the Switch, I wasn't all that invested into it and never ended up buying the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, as I had already gotten the whole thing on the Wii U and didn't want to spend all that money again just to play the same tracks. That was until they introduced the Booster Course Pass. This thing single-handedly made me re-buy the game again and invest more time and money for 48 tracks over the span of 2 years, and even got some new characters which were completely unplanned, but hey, I'll take it, more for my money. Total of 96 tracks in one game is insane, and I wonder how they're going to beat that in Mario Kart 9. Probably quality over quantity, but for now, I wanted to rank all the tracks in this game, Base 8 and Booster Course Pass Waves 1 through 6. I'm going to be ranking these tracks based on 3 things. 1. Quality track design. Is it entertaining? Are the shortcuts good? Does it even have shortcuts? What makes it unique? Does it stand out compared to the rest of the tracks? 2. The soundtrack. To me, every good map has a good soundtrack that supports the atmosphere. This could be a very fast song or a more mellow song for a more laid-back course. 3. Is it graphically pleasing? Although the gameplay makes up for a majority of these rankings, it's hard not to look at something and determine if it looks good or not, especially when you're playing online and you're forced to look at your surroundings while you wait for everyone to load in. With that in mind, let's start with the 1-star tracks and what I think is objectively the worst track in the game. Sky High Sundae. This to me is the absolute worst track in the game. I've never been a fan of the courses in which you drive straight and do tricks the entire time. Whenever I get this course online, I seriously just consider closing the game. Visually, it does have that Fall Guys look to it, and I don't mind it to be honest, but it's just quite jarring. But the way it plays is a different story. First off, for some reason, nearly every jump has that expected trajectory which forces your car to fall to the ground so you can be where the game wants you to be. It's very noticeable when playing on 200cc when it's every single jump and in fact you're skipping some of the jumps. Another problem I have with this map is the railing that gives you a spin boost is extremely random. Usually in other courses there's this distinct look to them that lets you know what they do, but not here I guess. In fact, you drive through the railing, which looks very bad. Music is subpar, and for some reason this entire course is an anti-grav? This makes no sense to me. You're barely going uphill towards the end of the straightaways and everything else is a flat surface. Oh well. Excitebike Arena. Yeah, it's another one of these tracks. The only reason why this track is higher is because you can cut through the grass at the end of each course, and the mud is a slight obstacle, but other than that, this is basically the same as Sky High Sundae. I know it's based off of the Excitebike game, but still, I really just find this layout design super boring. I mean, just look at that map silhouette. Does that really spark any interest to anybody out there? Dry Dry Desert for the GameCube. Desert themed courses are also tracks that I've never been a huge fan of, especially this one. The obstacles in this track I feel are either easily avoidable or just completely irrelevant. But there is something I need to say about this underwater section. I'm actually convinced that tricking off of these underwater whirlpools is slower than just driving through it normally. I mean, if we do a side-by-side comparison, just look at it. There's hardly any difference between tricking off the whirlpools and going around it. The only purpose this thing serves is just, oh hey look, it's an oasis. The quicksand is practically useless in 150 and especially 200cc, as it does nothing to slow you down. 50cc and 100, if you drive through it, you can basically just say goodbye and you're going to the middle. I feel like it could have been more of an obstacle if it was something you had to drive through, but the speed of the quicksand was dependent on how fast you had the setting. Whereas if you had it in 50cc, if you drove through it, you wouldn't get caught automatically and you had a chance of getting out without an item. Whereas 200cc, it would actually do something. That could have been much better. As for the rest of the course, it's your generic, non-memorable desert theme. Pokies on the track everywhere, and a very hilly course. Ninja Hideaway. I honestly have no idea what Nintendo was thinking when they designed this track. There's a multitude of issues, so let me just start listing them out. 1, there's a lot of sharp turns that feel completely out of place and impossible to turn on unless you've had lots of experience on this course and know your lines. 2, like even the CPU struggle to turn on some of these turns, especially in 200cc, and the glider path is guaranteed to send you straight into a wall unless you nosedive it right into the roof. Any line taken into the end turn is just very awkward. There's just a multitude of issues that I have with this course. Nitpick that I also have that bothers me is when you're driving on the shingled roof and it doesn't have that bumpy sound effect that you normally have when you drive on an uneven surface. And then immediately after, it gives you that sound effect on the bridge. I mean, it would be maybe repetitive, but it still bothers me. And also, you're driving flat on it despite driving on that uneven surface. I think it's cool to have a dojo as a course. They just executed it so terribly that I find this course hard to enjoy. Toad Circuit for the 3DS. Visually, this looks like garbage. I can't go 5 seconds without seeing this concrete on the floor. Oh, you're telling me that's supposed to be grass? Oh. I understand that the art style is going into a different direction to have a more cartoony aesthetic to it, but if you plan on making a DLC, at least make sure you have the art style that corresponds to the same style as the base game, or else you're going to have the quality of Toad Circuit and the quality of Yoshi Circuit within the same game. I mean, come on, when the Wii U DLC came out, these were new track designs, and it still looked like it was base 8 game. 8 years later, and we get things like this. Nintendo was making a fourth of what they were making now. I've never been a fan of this track, and it was somehow made even worse in the Booster Course Pass, so I guess hats off to Nintendo to somehow making that happen. I mean, you literally put the 3D fully animated characters right next to those horrible looking 2D sprites. How lazy can you be? New York Minute for Tour. I'm actually surprised it took me this long to get to the city tour maps, as I don't like a majority of them. There are a few outliers that I actually really do enjoy driving on. This is not one of them. The music is rather boring for something based in New York. I mean, New York was the basically godfather of jazz, and this is how you represent it by giving a lame tune like this. The bright city lights are very glaring in my opinion, and that's really all this course has for lighting. The buildings are super flat and have absolutely no texture on them. I mean, like, you could at least put the little staircases on the outside of the building that, like, every New York apartment has. You could have at least done that. Driving through the park and the theater feel absolutely desolate. I mean, it's quite literally just a cave in here. The cars in the city don't even move. It's a very bland course. One thing I also hate about the tour courses is the overview on the side is completely useless. It's just one jumbled mess that doesn't tell you where you're going. Imagine being new to this map and you look at the side and you're like, okay, what route am I supposed to go? I mean, even after driving on these courses for a while, I still have no use for the side map, and I just know the map based on knowledge, and it's just completely irrelevant. And unfortunately, this is apparent in all of the city tracks. London Loop, another tour track. Yeah, I'm going on a tangent with how many tour tracks are going to be coming up soon. I feel like when you've played one of the city tracks, you've basically played all of them. I mean, they're all so repetitive except for a few outliers, which are much higher on this list. All of them feel the exact same, and it's because they used the same bushes, the same buildings, the same lighting. None of them really feel different. I thought the point of these tour tracks was to inject some culture into them, and right now I'm just feeling that like every city that we have gotten is same, except for those outliers that I mentioned. The track layout feels as if they wanted to replicate London, and then they decided what the track route is after they made the map. I constantly find myself bumping into walls and driving onto paths that I'm not supposed to drive on, constantly seeing these red arrows directing me where I'm supposed to go. It's even worse on 200cc, which feels even more awkward, and it's hard to find that consistent live to drive upon. It's a very chaotic map, and it's very unorganized, is the least I could say. Tokyo Blur, another tour track. The tour tracks in the beginning are very unpolished and incomplete, which is a downside because the later tour tracks feel a lot more finished, which means that these beginning tracks have to suffer in the rankings, unfortunately. The overall layout is just pretty boring to me and not much really happens, and there's also just a lot of weird issues that I have with this course. Like, for example, why aren't these flags animated? Why are there thwomps on the road? And also, the water on the glider part looks so bad to me. It's so easily noticeable, and it just looks awful. Also, the song, for some reason, reminds me of Toad Circuit. I have no idea why, it just does. SNES Mario Circuit 3. A lot of people rag on the SNES maps, and it's because we have courses like this one. I don't actually mind this one in the Wii because of the turns with the bikes you could do and the straightaways and the wheelies. but it doesn't have the same feel in this game because of the Wii mechanics that were taken out. This course has the same quality of Toad Circuit, and I hate looking at it. There are so many other SNES courses they could have brought back, and they gave us this one again. It's been in 5 games. They could have put that one in Mario Kart 7 in this one, and I would have been happier. Quit remaking this specific Mario Circuit. I'm tired of hearing the song. Paris Promenade, another tour track. Once again, this course suffers from being a part of the first wave, therefore having many better courses to compare it to. And also, it does feel bland. Other than the glider part where you see the Eiffel Tower, I genuinely would not know what town this is. And the music, it does give me that Paris feel. When you have so many of the city courses, they all just feel the same. This course also only has the map layout change on the last lap, which is a bit disappointing. And even then, you're only going backwards, so you're not getting anything new within this tour track. Los Angeles laps. These tour tracks are really piling in now. It's starting to get annoying. But this is a Wave 5 course. What happened here? Well, to start off, this course could really be any Californian city. Hell, let's even call it Miami. Apart from the beach, there isn't much going on in the course, which once again leaves us with that bland feeling. And oh my god, why are they so close? I understand you use the 2D models to save memory, but if you're going to have these characters so close to us, at least try and hide the fact that they are cardboard cutouts. If you can tell that they are 2D models, then they are too close. Like how in Mario Stadium, they have the entire audience, those same models, far back so you can't tell that they really are 2D models. The only real okay thing about this track is the construction zone having multiple branching paths, but also at the same point, why would you put a construction zone in a Los Angeles themed course? At that point, you might as well just put a bunch of homeless tents and hippies in the main section of the course, and then you'd get the true representation of California. This is a Wave 5 track. Why are we still at quality this bad? GBA Sunset Wilds, another Wave 5 track. I remember when this first came out, I absolutely hated it, and I thought I was the only one that did. But when I was watching the Mario Kart ranking videos that inspired me to make this, I think it's a universal agreement that we all just hate this map. We were absolutely robbed from the greatness that this track once had, and to begin with, here are a few of the problems that I have. 1, Sunset Wilds would have you think that during the race, the sun would set. That's what it did do in the GBA version, and even in the Tour version. Why is it not in the Mario Kart 8 version? We have the dynamic lighting to support it. Not to mention that the layout of the track is changed by a decent amount. Mario Kart Tour has a problem with simplifying a great amount of these tracks, and on this one specifically, they just completely took out a couple of turns. This isn't the only course that they've done this on either. I understand when reimagining these 2D courses, you have to be innovative so that it really does feel alive. It includes the Mario Kart 8 gimmicks. But at least when doing so, keep the track layout the same. I mean, Cheeseland did it when the DLC for the Wii U came out, so why couldn't they do it here? Even worse, they didn't even include any of the new features Mario Kart introduced, so they just cut it out for what seems to be basically no reason. Also, another problem I have with this is this mud looks terrible. I'm assuming it's mud. It really looks like oil, I'm not gonna lie. They really missed hard with this one. Onto the 2 stars. GBA Mario Circuit. As much as I appreciate the glow up the GBA courses get in Mario Kart 8, this course is still kind of a miss for me. The only interesting thing added in this course is the anti-gravity ramp, and it's also got a decent amount of shortcuts, but that's really all they could add. It's another circuit track, so that also lowers it a bit for me in uniqueness, but honestly, the only semi-cool thing is the pit stop. I don't know why, I just love going through it every single time, even if it is a time loss. It gets you an item, so you got that 50-50 whether you want to do it or not. N64 Calamari Desert. Is this track a fan favorite? I have no clue, but I've never liked this track. Whenever I hear about Calamari Desert, it's always on either side of the spectrum. It's either heavily praised or it's bashed upon. And to give credit, in this version, the Lightning engine does a lot of the heavy lifting in this version, which I can praise. But the amount of baby turns coupled by the fact that there aren't any obstacles or anything for this matter makes for a very boring track. Except for the train. But I don't like it. The train actively stopping the entire race in some instances is super annoying and can give people a clear advantage of one half of the players make it and one half don't, practically removing the competitive edge for some great amount of time, for basically a majority of the first lap. I do actually like the change that they made on the second lap where you drive onto the tracks now. I've always tried doing this in previous entries such as Mario Kart 7 or N64. It was a very needed touch, but ultimately still doesn't save this track from being bad in my opinion. Mario Circuit. I swear this isn't a pattern, I just don't like circuit tracks, they're so bland. The main reason this is up in 2 stars is because of the visuals, and the course surrounding is actually quite a cool concept in my opinion. Seeing the castle upside down is actually very interesting to me. Other than that, the course design is quite literally just an 8. Oh, I get it, because it's Mario Kart 8. Wow. Yeah, nothing to say here, just generic. Mario Kart Stadium. This honestly isn't even a bad opener track. Everything's average, which isn't bad, but in terms of this list, it's not good. Music sounds very stadium and grand-like, as you'd expect from a track like this. The design is simple for an opener, and fits that Mushroom Cup standard. And they actually use those 2D sprites correctly, thank God. Oh, I'm tired of looking at flat cardboard cutouts. You can actually not tell that they're a 2D sprite this time. Unfortunately, there are so many stadium and circuit tracks that it feels boring and doesn't really have any uniqueness. Well, except for that giant Mario Kart statue. I always end up looking at that in the middle of the course. Unfortunately, despite being a solid track in my eyes, there are just a numerous amount of better tracks, such as Baby Park from the GameCube. I absolutely love this course in GameCube only. The reason why it worked in GameCube was because of the amount of chaos caused by the items and the special items. Get rid of those items like how it is in DS and Mario Kart 8, and you have a really subpar map. But we have items. It adds to the layer of challenge, but that can't make an entire course what it is. Also removed is the fact that items can no longer go over the railing in the middle, which removes even more of the insanity. The counter argument might be the fact that there's 12 players, so therefore more items, and we have the double slot just like GameCube, so technically there's more items than GameCube. We have 24 in this game that we could possibly have, whereas you can have 16 in that game. It still just doesn't feel right without the special items. That's what made that feel unique. The giant Bowser shell, the giant banana, the chain chomp going rampant. Those are all things that brought charm to it. We don't see it here. And honestly, before the craziness can even begin, you're probably already at lap 6 or 7, especially in 200 and 150cc. This would be a good track, but get rid of all the item mechanics, and this is the same as Excite Bike Arena or Sky High Sunday. Toad's Turnpike for Nintendo 64. This is another course I want to like. I want to love this course. I love the courses where you dodge impeding traffic, but the cars are just way too slow for me and I hate it. Whether I play this on 50cc or 200cc, the traffic feels like it's just going 2 miles per hour in a neighborhood rather than going your standard speed on a regular road. Add that to the fact that once again, the course is mostly straight with very soft turns and it's very underwhelming. Music is calming, I guess, to support this, but courses where you dodge traffic, in my opinion, shouldn't be a mellow course. The only sense of speed on this course is basically the sideline where you dodge the cars and remain straight and you go off of the ramp. The only good thing that I can say about this course is that I like the addition that you can use your glider off some of the cars and trick off the ones with the surfboards. Bone Dry Dunes. Let's try and start with the positives here. I really like those toad markets at the beginning of the course. Wait, where's the theme throughout the rest of it? What? I actually really like that. I thought we were going to be traveling through like a bazaar or some sort, but then they just got rid of it. There's no other positive here for me, basically. This is probably the course that I also play the worst on, so that kind of factors in as well, especially 200cc, which I'm literally brake drifting every single turn. I understand that's a mechanic that's needed for 200cc, but if you're braking every single turn, I think it's a problem with the course design and not just me. I also can never get this anti-grav glider right. I go for the double box, and for some reason my glider just kind of flips out halfway through, and then I'm just kind of pushed into the wall. I think that's just a me problem, though. I don't know. I'd like to hear if anybody else has that problem. Aren't dunes like hills of sand? Why are there solid rocks forming mountain-like structures? Dry Desert should be called Dry Dunes, and Bone Dry should be called Bone Dry Desert. We should just swap the names because that would be a lot more fitting. There's also like a 10-second interval in the song that I enjoy, but that's about it. Rock Mountain from the 3DS. Quite surprised they brought this one back. I completely forgot about this track, and I still forget it's even in this game too. Once again, starting with the positives. I like the incline up the mountain with the boulders falling down. I've always gotten a sense of thrill in that section, and I still get it here. And the little spin boost things, I don't actually know what to call them, I just call them spin boost, adds to the adrenaline rush that you get. The pipes to get a little height boost, I also find those very fun. But that's about all I can think about positively about this course. The negatives, well, the cave part is extremely bland. Usually when there's a cave section, there's something unique about it. Like, even in Bone Dry Dunes, had that Bowser entrance on the outside. Wario's Gold Mine has that minecart pathway the entire time. There's always something to make it feel unique, but there's none here. The glider shot would be beautiful if I didn't have to see the rocks and concrete art style. I mean, seriously, I never thought I'd be complaining about texturing this much, but it really just does look that awful to me. Rosalina's Ice World 3DS. They made a bad course even worse somehow. I still don't know how this relates to Rosalina. Wow, you added an extra planet from Mario Galaxy. Want your golden star? That's the equivalent of adding Mars in the background to a course being based off of Earth. Visually, they tried. Probably the only strong point of this course is how beautiful it looks. Too bad it doesn't matter because driving on it is a literal death trap in 200cc. It's literally impossible. Starting with this loop, it's the first problem. The camera angle is complete dog and has you face down into the ground the entire time. If I didn't have previous knowledge, how would I know where to go? I accidentally figured this out by just messing around when playing it in 50cc Grand Prix, but you can just straight up climb this wall. If there was anywhere to put an invisible wall, it would be right here. Now I just have free roam of all this open land. The ending is also kind of ruined. In the original, this right path over here was a lot skinnier and was supposed to be a risk and reward kind of thing. Here they just expanded it, so now there's no point in taking the left path. The right path has 3 boosters and is the same width as the left path, which has no boosters. There's no point in taking the left path anymore because you'll only be hurting yourself position-wise if you took it. The only part that isn't made worse is the water section, because, like, I don't know, how can you mess that up? This is also another common trend, but within the music department, a lot of these songs are remade and they sound like a club remix. Especially apparent in the 3DS songs, especially Rainbow Road, which is later, but we're not talking about that right now. It doesn't make the song sound any better. If anything, I like the song less now. It's supposed to be a magical sounding song, not a club song. Shroom Ridge for the DS. I love this course in DS. Oh my god, I'm so glad they brought it back. What the hell is this? This is such a massive downgrade. Once again, we have the concrete grass. This bothers me so much, especially at the shortcut. There's so much empty space that you basically have to look at and it looks so off-putting. I hate it. The only reason why I could tell this is grass is because of the little clippings that come up when you drive through it. The traffic only goes in one direction, which is super boring and brings down the difficulty. Imagine taking some of these corners blindsided just to see a car and you just run into it and there's nothing you can do. That was the charm of this course, but unfortunately they took it away. Why does the line randomly switch in the tunnel? Wait, what? How does this go from 2-lane traffic to just suddenly 1 lane in which there's cars that could basically be going both ways, because according to traffic rules, that's how it works. And then you change it again after the tunnel. What? I don't know why they just randomly did that. This is so stupid. Apart from that, I do like how you can trick off some of the cars now, just like Toad's Turnpike, but you can't glide off some of them, so boo. And there's a new shortcut. I personally don't take it because I just find taking the turns fun, but, you know, it's there. Athens Dash Tour. This is another course I want to like, but I just can't. Shortcuts are creative because of the ruins from destroyed buildings, and the exploration of Athens is actually super cool. But on this glider part, why am I looking at these buildings? They look like Legos. What are those trees? What happened to the quality? If you look at Greek architecture, it feels like this map is straight up insulting it. Greek architecture is actually very unique and beautiful looking from historic times and even in the modern day. Why do we get buildings such as this? At the end of the 2nd and 3rd lap, you climb up the staircase, and at the top you're rewarded with this awful design choice of random pillars in the middle of the course. Hooray! I swear if you hit one of these, you just get thrown way off course. You have to be perfectly lined up to not hit one of these, and that's hard because the angle you're coming up from the staircase, you're basically getting blindsided. Aside from the Los Angeles laps, this is the first course to have the half pipe. I mean in terms of this ordering, not the actual ordering of the waves, to specify that. I didn't mention it in Los Angeles Labs because the problem I have with all these half pipes, I couldn't critique on that particular map because it actually does those decently. But all of these half pipes have the worst camera panning in the history of video games. Let's break this down real quick. I go up for the half pipe, and the camera when I'm falling back down is straight onto the floor. Why am I looking there instead of where I'm supposed to be landing, or ahead of where I'm landing, so I can see where I'm landing? For most half pipes, it's not even worth going up there because there's at least a 75% chance you're going to drive off course or hit a wall. The inclusion of half pipes made me realize why maps such as Wario Goldmine took them out. And the inclusion of half pipes now make it seem like they took it out for no reason. This map, I really want to like it. I really do, but just the horrible mechanics keep me from liking it. Water Park. To start off, imagine just naming a course Water Park. It's like naming Toad's Turnpike Highway. Nice one, Nintendo. I'm a theme park enthusiast. I love roller coaster parks and water parks. This doesn't scream water park to me whatsoever. I can't remember the last time I saw a Ferris wheel at a water park. I don't remember bringing teacups. I actually do give them credit for putting them underwater. That's actually pretty creative. Let's scratch that. Imagine in this course we gotta go through one of the dark tube rides, or drop down these extremely vertical ones, or go through a lazy river. Even better, what if we went through one of those giant funnel rides? There were so many possibilities to be creative, especially in a Mushroom Cup course, but they just stuck with the bland option. Amsterdam Drift. To give props where it belongs, I really like the art direction here. Keyword direction. I don't think it's very well executed. The routing through the city makes it feel very cramped, as if the layout was once again prioritized last, leaving to some random turns, especially at the end of the third lap, where some of them just kind of come out of nowhere and all you see are red arrows. This glider section's pretty cool. Okay, never mind. What the hell is that random seam there in the grass? This looks stupid. Was that meant to be some sort of layer or something? Were they trying to make a hill or an edge? I really don't know at this point. Get rid of it. This flower section is the most beautiful part of the course. All these colors of flowers bringing out that pop mixed in with the piranha plants. But unfortunately, I have a very sharp look to them, which is kind of ugly. I can literally count the amount of edges that they have. It's not good. Flowers are supposed to have that smooth, delicate look to them, and they look like they're supposed to be roses, so yeah, that looks kind of off to me. Add that to the fact that they're copied and pasted a million times and it doesn't look good at all. Sunshine Airport. Oh boy, let the parade of hate comments come in because I put this in 2 stars. While I do appreciate the creativity it takes to turn an airport into a course, it's more like a runway. And yes, I know runways are a part of airports, but you spend maybe 2 seconds inside the airport and the rest is outside of it. It's another instance where there is so much creativity on the table and it's just left there. Imagine being able to drive through TSA security and the bag scanners, or through souvenir shops or the conveyor belts for baggage claims. Just thinking of these ideas make me wonder what we could have had. Music is also pretty generic and forgettable to me. I do actually appreciate this small detail that the board gives you destinations to other courses in the game. To me, it's just funny imagining characters getting on a plane to those places, and the fact that they would also have to have an airport. Dolphin Shoals. Pretty generic water course. Other than the dolphin rock you see in the beginning shots and the hula hoops for them to jump through, you don't really get this dolphin vibe, do you? The underwater section is great, but also inconvenient at the same time. Getting shocked mid-jump on the pipe sends you into the abyss, which is really annoying. Driving on the eel is cool, it's just that it's very inconsistent with tricking off the fin, and sometimes throws you around when you land. The song in the original Mario Kart 8 had that infamous saxophone lick. For some odd reason, they took that part out and shortened the song, which makes it way less cooler than what it was before. While on the topic of the music, while underwater you get this aquatic sounding version of it, which I do love that small attention to detail, and while you're on the land you get the saxophone that's actually jamming out. Since you're in the water for most of the course, you never get to hear that saxophone get to the main melody, so the water just cuts you off right before it gets there, and I hate it. You never really get to see that music shine. Overall, just a pretty forgettable track to me. Roma Avant Tour. It's wave 6 and we're still struggling with texturing. Who would have thought? Aside from the Coliseum, the track once again feels like any other tour track, which sucks because I really enjoy the loop around the Coliseum. The routing, especially on 200cc, is borderline unplayable, so many sharp turns that come out of nowhere. This specific circle is changed like 4 times within the course and makes no sense. Why not just keep the entire circle complete every time and then have the arrows on the outside instead of the arrows interjecting into the circle, forcing you to take a certain path? Oh hey look, fuzzies are in this course. You even glide through them on the 3rd lap. Not much here to say other than it just being okay. Didn't really have any impressions on me. Bangkok Rush. The only thing I really enjoy about this course is that water part. It looks amazing to me, and also tricking off the boats is super fun. The music isn't anything too special, but that oboe part is quite memorable. That's a unique sounding part there. Those are unfortunately the only positive to me for this course. There's a lot of emptiness within this course after the boat part. The multitude of different paths is great and all in this section, but they are way too tight to take and can easily just be bumped into way too often. Since you pass this multiple times, it's much better to just stay on the bottom the entire time, unless you got this practice and you can take those upper routes. This entire parking garage section is so bland. What were they thinking here? You could have at least added some wall art or some graffiti or cool looking metal vintage signs to add some personality to this course. But they didn't, and so therefore they have this very awful looking trash can part of the course. At least I could say this feels different than the other tour courses with the setting. And the design is actually okay at best. I can never get lost within the route, which is definitely better than the other tracks we've covered. Donut Plains 3 from the SNES. Unless you're SNES Rainbow Road, take it and cherish that I put you this high up. It's very hard to make a SNES course memorable in my opinion. I think the song here actually does a lot of the heavy lifting. The whistle gives the song tons of personality now that it's actually audible, whereas the SNES version you can't really hear it, and it makes it way more cheerful than the song already was. About the track itself, well, I mean you can't really mess up a course this simple, and luckily they didn't. It looks very detailed and polished and actually like a complete course. I do like the inclusion of that little dip in the water after the bridge, and in 200cc, some of the turns actually kind of present a challenge, which is notable in my opinion. Yoshi Valley for the N64. We gotta talk about this track. I love the concept of so many branching paths that connect to one ending, but they executed it terribly, and it's especially shown online. If you want to have multiple paths, each path needs to have its own reason for a player wanting to go down it. Half of these paths have absolutely no reason to go down them because there's objectively 2 paths that is the fastest or provides an item alongside some coins. There is literally no point to taking this canyon path, I swear. The egg at the end is super cool, but provides no actual challenge. I'm not here to undermine anybody's skill level, but I swear if you actually run into this, I think you need to uninstall Mario Kart. I have never seen a real human being run into this. The only reason I remember this song as vividly as I do is because of one comment I saw on the extended version of the song that lives absolutely rent-free in my head. It's a decent song, but I now no longer think of it a valley when I hear this. Daisy Circuit, Wii. God, why do they keep making the Wii courses worse? This is easily a high 4-star for me in the Wii, but there's just a lot of design choices here that make no sense. To start off visually, the city part, which I found the most charming in the original, now just looks terrible with all these untextured buildings. The grass and hedges, despite more effort being put into them, still look bad. And the only saving grace is this glider shot, but even then the sunset can't carry this course because everything up close looks terrible when you're driving by them. The Daisy statue is cool, but why the hell is there a baby Daisy statue? I don't want to be reminded of this terrible character's existence. What is also crazy to me is that at the start, they decided to mix the 3D fully animated characters with the 2D sprites. The 2D sprites are put in a far distance so that you can't really tell, but then you add the 3D characters and then now you're like, well, why do these look good and then those in the back look terrible? Why would they do this? Okay, this ramp right here is the most unnecessary inclusion. What is the actual point of putting this here? It feels like they just added it last second. The only positive that I can bring up is that the music is still good. Why did they have to mess this course up like this though? Koopa Cape. I love Koopa Cape on the Wii. It's a top 3 track in that game, with the other 2 actually being in this game and higher on this list. But because of my love for this track, I'm extremely critical of it.
Once again with these half pipes, I have no idea why my camera is looking straight down again. To add on to it, there are so many of them. I can't justify any of these half pipes. At least in Wii, it gives you the outlook ahead of you, and then it goes straight down as you land. Not the entire time. Why would I want to be looking at that mountain? The underwater section is completely wrong. I know that they're using the tour version, which is using the Mario Kart 7 version, but I hate that version. It has you completely underwater instead of that aquarium look to it. One, it gets rid of the water stream in the middle of the floor, which removes that sense of speed that you got in the Wii. That's what made this entire section fun. And two, those shock wires are no longer present, which is another obstacle that made this water section fun. Instead of having this fast-paced water section where you're swerving out of the way of basically everything, you're now left with this riveting gameplay. Why the is there a half pipe underwater? This makes zero sense. Even worse, the half pipe is complete. This may just be me, but this river section especially, the music gets super annoying. The banjo is so unnecessary and makes the song an absolute headache to listen to. All the Wii version did was amplify the sound during this part, and that creates a better adrenaline rush than this banjo. I also have to mention that the camera angle before you drop into the water section is terrible. The turn is so quick that the camera doesn't even have enough time to adjust. A new person would most likely just run into the wall because the turn is that quick. In a Wii, it gives you so much more time to know where the turn is. The way they messed up these courses so bad makes me wish they brought back a lot of fan favorites for the next Mario Kart. They would have been way better and way more polished in there than in the Booster Course Pass. I mean, nostalgia aside, and if this is your first time ever playing Koopa Cape, would you really put this version at a top 3 course like I would if it was on Wii? 3-star courses. I think these are average with a good mix of both good and bad. Thwap Ruins. I think this course does the best at what it's supposed to do, theming. I really do get that vibe that I'm exploring ruins with a decent amount of thwomps and a good amount of hazards to feel like I'm Indiana Jones or something like that. You have these cogs rolling down the course that are active hazards, you can drive on the walls, and a nice glider section that provides a decent risk factor. It looks visually compelling too. I do have a problem with the shortcut. You practically have to take it dead on for it to work, and I've fallen off of it so many times I could hardly even count anymore. Music is below average, but that's forgivable because this is a good track in my opinion. I've also never found this glider part interesting. It's an honest snooze fest, but it's also a good break. Merry Mountain. Just off these clips in the course montage, this track looks good for the Booster Course Pass. This proves that all they had to do was add some texturing to the rocks, or make the town a little bit more textured, or just make the grass look like grass. Once again, the theme of this course is what puts it in 3 stars for me. It feels like a real celebration, with the grand sounding music and how festive the town is. That's another strong point for me as well. The brick path in the town feels very well done, and the train dropping coins is so cool. Unfortunately, once you get past that, it doesn't really have that same feeling for me. The wide space on the hill feels a little too big, and you don't really use this half pipe all that much, and the decline down the hill isn't that exciting to me. The course design is also once again just a loop, which is kind of boring, but I can forgive it. Cindy Sprint Tour. This course design is one of the best for the Tour City tracks. I hardly see any red arrows, and the routing feels natural as I don't have any unexpected turns as per usual. The quality of texture is subpar once again, and I need to talk about this again. Why are they so close? Why they're not even facing towards me? At least face them towards us so they don't look like they're from Paper Mario. And then right after the glider part, every character is 3D. I'm not gonna lie, I actually don't know what this part right here is supposed to be. I think it's sand. I'm just gonna leave it at that. One thing we all know for sure is that the music department is never lacking with their band arrangements. I mean, just listen to the saxophone, it goes crazy. Now that's the type of music I want to hear. Amazing stuff. Soundtrack alone can forgive a lot of the mishaps of this course. Coconut Mall, Wii. There is so much wrong with Coconut Mall. I firmly believe that for every Wii course that has been remade, the Wii version is still the best version. Well, except for one of them. Coconut Mall has only been downgraded every time it's been remade. And no, it's not one of the top 3 that I mentioned when doing Koopa Cape. I would put this below Koopa Cape. Starting with what made the Wii version so ecstatic, the mall felt like a mall. The escalators didn't have those giant arrows on them, therefore there was an actual chance that you could pick the wrong escalator. Now that there's arrows on them, there's no point in having one of them bring you down the opposite way, because people know that it's going to bring you down because of the obvious sign. You might as well make them both go up at this point. With the Switch no longer having a Mii system, you're no longer having those Miis walk around the top floor. That's all gone, which is kind of sad. They also got rid of the giant Coconut Mall sign, but that's a minor detail I can live without. The cars in the parking lot are no longer useful. Back in the Wii, the cars moved in such a way that you would take a different route each time. It was unpredictable, and that's what made it fun. You never knew where the Miis were going to be when you got there, and you always took a different route each time. The cars when Wave 1 first dropped didn't even move. When Wave 2 dropped, they quote-unquote fixed it, but the change serves no purposes though, because the route you end up taking doesn't change. You go left past the first car and right past the second car. Them doing donuts doesn't change anything. You can see right here, I went right by it, right in the middle of its donut, without any challenge whatsoever. Are there any positives that make me keep it as 3 stars? Yeah, I still like the glider part going into the parking lot. I've always liked that. The actual inside of the mall has these bright colors, which I think fit very well compared to the Wii version. Also, for some reason, this is a fabric texture. I have no idea why they use that, but yeah. It's Coconut Mall. Tricking off everything is super fun, and I'll still pick it online. But the remakes have only made this course worse over time. Royal Raceway N64. This is such a big glow up from the N64. This is basically a glorified circuit track though, if you break it down. Although I do like the soccer trees, they create this nice aesthetic that makes for an extremely pleasant drive. This jump was reimagined as a glider part, and I'm so glad it's not automated. Instead, you have free range of motion, and you're tasked with dodging hot air balloons, which keeps you involved even on the glider part. A lot of these tracks are extremely guilty for this, where they have the glider out, but you can't really do anything with it as it's automated, and, well, you can't really move around. This here, that doesn't do that. I don't know if it's just me, but the tempo also sounds faster in this song's version than the one in the N64. But I like the remix nonetheless. Once again, it's just the glorified circuit track, but I do like it. Cloudtop Cruise. Really couldn't figure out a placement for this track without constantly changing it, but I think I've settled around putting it near the average spot. I like the part where you get shot out of the airship and sent into the thunderstorm, but please, I literally just mentioned this. Let us move around freely and dodge something. We could have dodged bolts of lightning. That would have been cool. Instead, we're just stuck waiting here and then just looking at everything, which isn't very appealing. Boosters also have a possibility of getting struck by lightning, so you're taking a different booster more often than not. I don't know why, but I've always just enjoyed this leaf shortcut. It's so satisfying when I hit it, but I don't know why I like it. I just can't put my finger on it. I just do. The cloud theme is cool, but doesn't really stand out in my opinion. I wish we were on the airship longer, maybe drive through interior, or have those wrench-throwing Monty Moles like they have in the platformer Marios. Other than that, I don't really mind this course. Choco Mountain N64. I like this version better than the N64, but worse than the DS. I think the DS just had that perfect mix to it. To begin with the changes in Deluxe, they added a cave section, which my opinion is pretty varied on this part. It doesn't really match the chocolate theme that this course had. You know, there was the layers of cake. I'm assuming that's what it's supposed to be. That's what I always thought it was. And then, boom, there's just this cave part that just kind of stands out. But also at the same time, it adds some variety, and it provides a great transition to the glider section, which I do find to be a great addition. The bottom half of the loop is mostly normal, but the top part I do have to complain about. Adding a railing here removes what I found to be special about Choco Mountain. There's no lurking threat of you always at some point being able to just get shoved off the side and having to redo the loop again. Yeah, it sucked, but it's so satisfying that you're able to just casually drop somebody's position from 2nd to 7th just by running into them with a mushroom. Now, if you made it past the avalanche of boulders, you can play it however you want, because now you can't fall off. It's unfortunate, but I can live without it. I also think that this version of the song is the crispiest and the cleanest. It's probably my favorite part. Squeaky clean sprint. The creativity of this track is definitely here. I just think that it looks terrible and some of the mechanics perform terribly. To start off, I like all the different branching paths that you can take at the end that cross over into the next lap. You can take this water spout coming out of the toilet to get up to the second shelf. There's even a hidden alternate path instead of the super far right one that you see on the minimap. There's that little tree that you can get, and there's a little booster there. I didn't even know that until I was doing this. If you get shocked mid-flight, it actually lets you fall into the toilet before the Lakitu picks you up. I actually love that minor detail. The course itself has you going through a bathtub, down the drain, in a sink, and above a toilet.
It's all great, but where are my complaints? Yeah, the visuals don't look too hot just by looking at these shots. The toothbrushes are practically using PS1 geometry. The beginning montage has you looking at this countertop for some reason. And mechanics wise, when I first played this course, I thought it would have been cool if you could drive all around this drain using anti-gravity. But, nope. I haven't seen anti-grav used creatively this entire booster pass. I mean, the times we see them is when we go slightly slanted. What happened to going upside down and driving on walls? This could have been the perfect opportunity to use it. But once again, the Booster Course Pass forgot that it's DLC to Mario Kart 8. Mumu Meadows on the Wii. Okay, maybe this is also an exception to what I previously stated about Wii remakes, because this is drastically better than the Wii version. Visually impressive, I must say. I like the setting better here, taking place at the sunset instead of during the middle of the day. It just makes it look a lot more cleaner. They added a glider ramp here, which provides a bit of an option. The music and course otherwise remains unchanged, and I'm completely fine with how this course turned out. Nothing else I can say. Before I get onto all the negative parts of this track, I just want to say the beginning of this soundtrack slams. Oh my god, that's great to hear. Okay, onto the course. We have to dodge impeding traffic, which I'm always a fan for, but my main reason for not putting this course higher is because of the routing. As much as I love this course, I cannot go a couple seconds without seeing these red arrows. A lot of these turns are super tight as well, and it's not tough to hit a wall with all these sharp, unexpected turns. I also love it when you can interact with other characters on the track between a loop in the course. You know, just casually messing up a person that's already in a terrible position. That just really makes me feel good. Snowland from the GBA. The glow up this course got is amazing. The sky is great and complemented with how well the icicles look that have the touch of pink on them. This track has a lot of personality. The moving boxes, penguins sliding everywhere. My only real complaint is that I just wish it was a bigger track or we gotta spend more time on it. The track itself isn't bad whatsoever. I always love when the 2D courses get reimagined in 3D ways, and this one did it well. I just think that all the other ice courses in this game are better than Snowland, which is unfortunate. Wario Stadium from DS. This is a welcome retro. I just think I prefer it on the DS. While I don't mind the stadium being opened up, it kinda does lose that stadium feel for me. Especially for when no reason you just start driving on this thing. Of all the changes they decided to make, why was this one of them? This is so out of place and honestly a terrible way to implement the anti-gravity. It just removes any resemblance of a stadium. The underwater section to the glider part is a nice addition to the track, and I always jam out to this song when I'm playing this course. Don't get me wrong when I say this course is great, I just don't like the changes made in this version and would much rather play the DS one. Sherbet Land on the GameCube. I actually see people calling this the second worst GameCube track, and they are absolutely wrong, and I will defend this course with my life. I love driving on this course. The different routes make the course interesting. You can drive on the walls to enter the cave portion now, which I love. You can even see people on it if you didn't choose it, which I've always found to be cool. I love the cozy vibes this course gives you, the Shy Guys ice skating each other, the lights providing just enough but still keeps it dark like a real night during the winter, the snowmans. This course just is enjoyable to drive on for me, and I would prefer this over, well, everything else that I've ranked it over. Vancouver Velocity from Tour. Another snowy feeling track, and aside from the first lap on that epic suspension bridge with all of the lights, I find that very cool. This track just feels just like any other Tour track. Same flat textures reused, same reused assets. Please quit doing this. I don't want the crowd so close to me. If I had to down a drink every time they did this, I'd be asleep on the couch by the end of this video. Music is also nothing too special either and unforgettable. Just a pretty mid-track overall. Nothing too bad. Sky Garden GBA. I know that they ruined this track and burned it down into nothing. Even then, I still think this is still a solid track, and that just shows how good Sky Gardens really was. The oversimplification of this track takes out once again a decent amount of turns, which is disappointing. The awkward colored path is also changed to just some normal looking brick path, and that's also a change I don't agree with. But other than that, I can't really find any other changes I don't like.
The flowing clouds has always been really super cool to me. The massive paratroopas, oh my god, those are giant. The music is the best it's ever been. The turns are still super fun to take. The first shortcut, I actually don't even remember they brought back, and it's not that fun to take anyways. But the second shortcut right before the glider part provide for some last second pass-bys that leave you feeling like you just got Mario Karted. I still really do enjoy driving on this track, and I still will pick it online. That just proves how good that Sky Gardens really was, and still can be. Ribbon Road GBA. I never found the appeal to this track, but it's definitely a glow up from the GBA version. I mean, you couldn't even tell that was a Ribbon Road. Now you can. The feeling of being shrunken down not only gives a lot of creativity for the background, but the course itself. I mean, just you're driving around toy clown cars, Mecha Koopas you're dodging, literally driving on ribbons. This wavy section is pretty tricky in my opinion. I often find it I'm hopping all over the place when I constantly try and trick it. Sometimes I just kind of fall off. I don't know, I've never really been good at this part. Overall, I don't mind this track. It's just not as good as the other ones. I don't really remember it that much. Not my personal favorite, but I understand why people like it. The 3DS Rainbow Road. I think this is a really good Rainbow Road, but is not represented well here whatsoever. I think I've only heard one person ever mention this, but why is the Rainbow Road blue? In every other Rainbow Road, the road in which you're driving on is a rainbow. Well, not this one. They felt as if they didn't need to do that. Let's make it Blue Road now, I guess. The course is a 3-part track, so you're always experiencing something new. Traveling around Saturn, you're on the moons, through this spinning pipe looking thing, gliding around asteroids. While I do appreciate it, I just feel like they kind of messed some of them up, like the moon part. I prefer when the moon was actually visible and bright, and not shrouded in the darkness. I mean, when the sun finally hits the screen, it literally causes lens flare in my screen. Why is the moon so dark? The entire moon's purpose is to reflect the sunlight onto the earth. So if it's not bright, why is it here? Mushroom Gorge from the Wii. I really can't live with this course in this art style. Am I the only one who thinks this looks ugly? The mushrooms in this art especially look terrible. They don't look so hot in any version, but this is the worst looking. They kept the glider section from Mario Kart 7, and I would like it except for the fact that it has automated pathing. It especially messes up when trying to line up the gap jump. At this point, don't take the glider part and just take the other path if you want to do the gap jump. It's a lot better. You can really see here that they messed me up. Why does this cave entry look like that? It looks awful. All of this looks awful. At least it performs well. Speaking of performance, DK Summit Wii. After they brought back half pipes, I felt like it was almost guaranteed they brought this one back, and they did. And I'm very conflicted on this course. It's basically up to luck to see how I perform on this course because the half pipes are extremely inconsistent. I mean, like, sometimes you go up for one and then you just get thrown off the hill like, okay. The last stretch with all the snowboarders is also just purely luck. Sometimes it works great, other times it does this. Truly a DK Summit moment. The infamous shortcut is back. Hooray! Right? I also find it easier to just sometimes not take it. They removed a part of the red fence so that's easier in this version. I think it's better to actually take it without a mushroom, because if you decide to take it with the mushroom, things like this happen. Nice one there, you took me all the way off the track. I can hear some people claim that this version is just like the Wii version, and just because it's buggy like the Wii version, it's still a perfect map. No, I thought the point of a remake was to create a better version of what once was, not only visually, but especially mechanically. You shouldn't be happy that a course is extremely inconsistent just because that's how it was before. You should want the course to be better than before. Speaking of visually, the fact that this course begins with a cannon and your first impression of the course is this, I thought maybe you'd want to put all the attention to detail because this part of the course is a visual part, and it looks very underwhelming. I still put this pretty average because there are times when you do race and everything works correctly, and when it does work correctly, it's a fun track to race on. Piranha Plant Slide 3DS. All of the 3DS tracks they brought back before the Booster Course Pass were all bangers. So good that I think this is the worst of the tracks they brought back. This track maintains a theme that feels very 1-2 from the original Super Mario Bros. It gives us a nostalgic yet modern vibe. I like everything that this course accomplishes, and the theming is great. I think this underwater part is very underwhelming though. On the 3DS, the camera angle made the section feel cramped and made the Piranha Plant feel giant. Here it's all just so open, leaving a feeling of emptiness and making the Piranha feel super small. The ending glider section is super cool once again, taking us back to the original Super Mario Bros. Theme. Toad Harbor. I feel like this course had a major inspiration from San Francisco. Might just be the cable cars, I don't know. This course has that one big selling point, and it's the hill with the cable cars. That's easily the best part of this course. As well as driving on this part of the map, I want to say it's a main street, but it feels like a back street with how tight it is, and creates an amazing sense of speed. The rather lacking parts consist of this tent part. I've never particularly been a fan of it. I don't even know if this shortcut is faster or not. I just take it just cause. A lot of the texture work does a lot of the heavy lifting here, especially, and this is what I wish the Battle Course Pass would do. These buildings are super flat, but the texture does a lot of the work, and it looks amazing here. That's all they need to do for any of the city maps, and it would look 10 times better. Unfortunately, we got stuck with that. But let this be a reminder of how good buildings can look. Mario Circuit DS. For what it's worth, I don't think this is a bad pick. The fact that we got this instead of Airship Fortress or Luigi's Mansion is quite laughable though. I just enjoyed how mad everyone was. This wasn't all too memorable on the DS. This was a star course? What? But now I actually have a reason to remember this course, just because of the forest part. Yeah, this single-handedly changed my opinion of this course. It's such a great inclusion. The giant wiggler, the sunlight peeking into the forest, the shortcut between the trees. I really enjoy this part. Yeah, it's still visually lackluster, and once again, they put the crowd too close. Please stop doing that. I will murder whoever's working on this. But at least we didn't get something like 8-figure circuit. That could have been way worse. Tik Tok Clock DS. I'm going to say here, I think this course is boring. It's flat for the most part. The clock hands the majority of the time don't help you out, and they have to be perfect in order for you to use them as an effective shortcut. The twisting gears were the only interesting part to me, and guess what? You no longer have to drive on it, because you could straight up just glide over it. Way to remove the most intriguing part of the course. What this course does better though, in my opinion, is that it actually looks like a clock. I mean, like, what the hell was Nintendo thinking when they made this course? The gongs, I'm gonna call those gongs, actually act like a gong. In the DS, it made you flip over no matter where you hit it, and I thought that was extremely dumb. Now, it just blocks you and it doesn't make you flip over. If you hit the side of it, it completely changes the course of your cart. I didn't get any footage, but I appreciate this extremely minor change they made. Since I haven't been mentioning music in a while, this song has a very clockwork sound to it. Does that make it a good song? No, it's boring as. Waluigi Pinball DS. In my personal opinion, the DS tops this version because of some minor details, but visually, I think this is the best representation of Waluigi's Pinball. To start with what I think on the actual track, there's not a lot of time spent on the actual pinball machine. There's just build up to the entire course. You literally get launched through the plunger at the beginning of the course like a pinball. What is that? What are we on? What? At least the pinballs come onto the same track as us and we have to dodge them? No, not a single time during this footage, a single pinball did not come onto the stage. Wasn't that the entire point of the course? I like this track, I really do. I just don't think it deserves the best course ever title that some people give it. On to the changes made in this version. The more realistic Waluigi head is replaced by a cardboard cutout, which I actually like. The DS had this eerie feeling, which complemented the realistic look. Here in the Booster Course Pass, the course has an extremely bright feel, and it gives off a more cartoony look. So therefore, the cutout is a way better fit here. The course consists of this fabric texture once again. Don't get me wrong, great looking, but why is it in a pinball machine? The special noises in the DS are no longer here, removing a little bit of the charm, like the roulette noise when getting an item. The special jingle when you passed an opponent. It also doesn't do the jingle after getting past the flippers. Ranking this as a retro and only as its form in Mario Kart 8, it's the top of average for me. It's got a mix of both great things and questionable things, but it's just better on the DS. DK Mountain GameCube. Okay, I might be in the minority here, but I'm actually really disappointed with this course. To me, it's just very inconsistent visually. The orange rock you see here before the cannon shot looks atrocious, but then immediately after, this entire mountain is done really well. A lot more detail than literally 5 seconds ago. I love the amount of detail put into the mountain. I just wish it were like this across the entire course, not just this part. The half pipes aren't terrible actually. This first one is really good and doesn't completely throw you off the course, and it naturally puts you back onto the track. The second one isn't that bad either. I'm glad they honed in on the mechanics towards the end and tried to make them better. The course itself feels a little too wide for me. I have to go out of my way to take those half pipes, and there's just way too much space. It feels empty. I know it's like that in all the games in which this course is in, but it feels super stretched out here. My favorite addition has to be the waviness of the bridge. The infamous Mario Karted bridge just got even goofier. You can trick off these waves, and the bridge even feels smaller too, which I like considering how I think all of it's just too wide. The song is still the same and adds a bunch of personality driving down this mountain, but I just think this course visually, it needs to be more consistent and shrunken down width-wise. Otherwise, I still enjoy driving on it. 4-star courses. SNES Rainbow Road. I'm quite surprised how well this course is represented in Mario Kart 8. This is obviously the best version of it, no doubt. Despite this course being super short, a lot of the difficulty captured on the SNES I can sense here. There are a lot of parts on this map where the track itself feels super small or tricky, such as this part with all the ramps, or the sections in which the thwomps are blocking the road and you have hardly any space to pass them. Add these to the fact that there's now 12 possible people you could be racing against, and it's very easy to get pushed off. The waves created from the thwomps are also much bigger, which is a problem I had in the 3DS, but I'm glad to see it's corrected here. You could barely tell that they were there, and now, well, yeah, you can very much so tell that they're here. A SNES map I can finally consider to be great. Finally. Piranha Plant Cove. I gotta say, I'm quite surprised I enjoy a water-based course this much, but the execution here is great, that's why. For a water-based course, I'm so glad the water looks beautiful here, because, well, if it didn't, that'd be disappointing. This glider section really shows off how great it looks. Even the rocks look great, too. Despite this not being a city track, each lap is different, which works well because when you're underwater, there's so much to just look at, and each lap being different, you're most likely to look at something new. A bunch of different ruins, crystals and caves, finally a Cheep Cheep, the giant eel, along with some lanternfish. The only real complaint here is that, again, with these courses, some of the turns are out of place and come out of nowhere. Other than that, I really enjoy driving on this track. Cheeseland GBA. A desert track that's unique and stands out. What the? Sound the alarm, something's wrong. I don't even remember this track on the GBA. They added so much to this version. Chain chomps, spin boosters, new glider sections. All the rocks actually resemble cheese on the course. The course even has holes in it, like cheese. You can cheese this course by bagging. For the record, I hate people who bag. It's a strategy that I admit does require great timing, but it's a stupid strategy, and I hate anyone who does it. Anyway, great course, loved addition. Sweet Sweet Canyon. I love the theming of this course. All the small details you can see just by driving, and you can just admire it. Oh my god, I love it. The audience members are gingerbread people. The normal tree decorations are replaced with flavors of ice cream. The traffic cones are ice cream cones. The Piranha Plant pipes have a peppermint design on them. There's so much that I could just go on and on about all the small details that give this course so much personality. It feels as if they made Sweet Dream from Mario Party 5, but instead they just crammed it and made it into a Mario Kart course. I love it. Ice Ice Outpost. I can't believe I used to think this was the worst course in the game. This track has really grown on me over time. I don't know if this track is based on Antarctica, but there is definitely a heavy emphasis that makes it feel like that. Imagine if there was a nighttime version and we got to see the Northern Lights. That would be sick. The course is split into a yellow and green path, which at some points split into a slightly different way that you can navigate the course. Since there aren't many railings, you can jump onto the other color when you have the chance, which is really fun to do. There are a crazy amount of shortcuts on this map, and the one going through the ice cave is really clever. I don't even know how to get to it until I went into time trials on my own time and saw the entrance, then eventually found out that it starts even earlier way back here. Another cool side detail is that sometimes you can see the icebergs falling on the side of the course, which is very satisfying to me. In fact, you're practically guaranteed to see it when you first start out. They make the process of it breaking look so smooth for a video game. The soundtrack, while not all of it is a banger, has some really great sounding parts in it too, if I had to critique anything with this course. Surprising 4-star for me. Riverside Park, GBA. Very good looking map. Well, except for these leaves. You can count the edges it has.
It doesn't also help the fact that they oversimplified the layout again, but visually, this looks impressive. Nintendo always does great with their sunsets. That and music are two things you can always count on to be consistent. The stubby little legs of these piranha plants are so hilarious to me. Just look at them go. The cave section is pretty cool. The terrible looking rocks are completely overshadowed by the lighting because it looks very cool. I love this cave part. I also love how this course ends with you jumping out of the cave and through a waterfall. Overall, I think this is a really nice course and one of the better GBA tracks they added, but there are some issues to it. Superbell Subway. I mean, this is exactly what you'd expect a subway themed course to be. You have the station, which I have no problems with. You drive on the tracks, dodge the train cars, and then back into the station. The layout doesn't feel cramped despite the location, which is great. I also love all the branching paths and the ability to drive on top of the train cars. That's also very great. I mentioned this back in Bangkok Rush, but the wall graffiti does actually add a lot of personality to this course because it provides more color compared to the dark lighting that this takes place in. It looks nice. Nothing really to complain about, it's just very good. Rainbow Road from the N64. This is a massive upgrade from the original. The fact that people think changing this into a checkpointed course, they're completely delusional and blinded by nostalgia. You guys do have a point on them messing up the layout a bit. At first I thought it was just because it was shown in a different orientation, but no, they straight up just missed a couple of turns. Especially if you want to play this course online, imagine waiting for this course to be over and you have to sit there for 6 minutes. Literally quicker than that sometimes. I've always been a fan of looking down and seeing the city lights. It looks beautiful here. The way this course looks itself, it's alright. It's definitely a lot better than what it looked like on the N64. But there is ultimately one thing preventing me from putting this in 5 stars though. The music. Despite sounding a lot more clearer here, it's missing that train whistle that really perfected this record. I know it's in the intro, but why is it not used throughout the entire song? Instead, we're drowned out by the trumpet, guitar, and saxophone. I think it sounds great, don't get me wrong, but nothing tops that whistling noise that played throughout the song. Daisy Cruiser, GameCube. My personal opinion, this was strongest on the GameCube, not because of the items or snappy mechanics, but just because of some slight changes. My first complaint would be with the pool. I've always preferred when you drove around it because, well, now you can just drive right through it because of the underwater feature, whereas on the GameCube, driving around it was just a lot more interesting and there's a lot more turns, especially with this version. You now have the ability to drive on a second side, and the entire deck part, you can literally just drive straight now the entire time, with maybe like one soft turn. It's very boring. The interior lighting is a lot better in this version than any other version. I also enjoy how the characters are actually trying to eat while the tables are moving. It's kind of goofy. It's still Daisy Cruiser though. I still think, despite the personal complaints, it's still a solid course. I do have to mention, the violin section in the song is very subtle, but makes this song sound beautiful. It's a nice little detail. Blue Lake from the GBA. I wasn't expecting such a trash course from the GBA to be such a banger in the past. The lake is an actual lake now, so that's cool. We even get to go underwater into this lake, which is even better. This right here is legit the best use of anti-grav in this entire booster pass. Let that sit in your brain for a minute. The song remains the same, so no complaints there, but if I had one issue, it's that I think this course is too fast. It's super short because, once again, it's been oversimplified, and to make up for that, they should have made it 5 laps. It's over in like less than a minute, but it's another unexpected 4-star for me. Warriors Goldmine from the Wii. It's weird to see a course like this somehow downgraded. With the whole scenario regarding the half-pipes, this course feels like it would have benefited from them if they were thought of while redesigning the Wii courses in the original base 8. But no, they didn't at the time, so a majority of this beginning section feels really blank. The actual Goldmine section is also changed. You no longer flip over when hitting the carts, you now receive a boost because it's anti-grav now. This does give a reason for playing each version, which I can appreciate, although it does deem this one less challenging, so if that's a factor to you, you might want to play the Wii one. The soundtrack is a massive improvement, and they fixed certain camera angles that bothered me whenever I played on the Wii, specifically this one right here. Despite a couple of the downgrades, I still see this as a really good track and give it 4 stars. Yoshi Circuit, GameCube.
This course is visually appealing. It's just super fun to drive on. No, I don't care that they got rid of a shortcut. I really could give less of a f. The turns are just so fun. The Yoshi shape is really unique. It still stands out even on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, when there's 96 tracks. Also, you can bag on this map, which doesn't downgrade its ranking, but if you bag, then you're just terrible at the game. If you need to stop racing and wait for something like a star and a bullet bill to use on later laps, then I'm just going to say straight up, you're dog. If you can't get first by naturally driving on the course and using item effectively, like how it's supposed to be played, then why are you even playing a racing game? Just uninstall. Yoshi's Island. This was the first Yoshi-themed course since Yoshi Falls. Thank God it wasn't terrible. The course has so many new fresh characters or casuals just being used in silly ways. I love it. There's so much personality and the different sections are great. The underwater part here is a little underwhelming, but otherwise the track design is great. If you're able to get this cloud, it'll branch out into a new path, creating a massive shortcut. You can even get lucky, because if you miss it, but someone else behind you does hit the cloud, you can still use the bridge. It's a mechanic I've never seen used, and it's a really creative one that creates a lot of chaos at the end of this course. You could really drop from like 2nd to 9th at the last second. The extra details put in this course is great as well. The coins are Yoshi coins. The ending song is the stage clear theme from Yoshi's Island. There was a lot of care put into this course. The only real complaint I have with this is that once again, with a lot of these booster courses, it doesn't look appealing. It's probably near the bottom of Wave 4 visually for me. Maple Treeway from the Wii. A great representation of Maple Treeway, but I just can't put my finger on why I like the Wii version more. Not to mention, I also think there's a better course revolving around a tree that's higher on this list. Once again, the half-pipe camera angles are terrible. This one especially. Why are they even here? Am I the only one who likes the net more? I mean, the glider change makes total sense to me, but just, it's a personal preference. The lake shot looks beautiful, and the turns are still tricky. The music sounds unchanged, so there's nothing wrong there. It's still a lovable classic. What can I say? Wild Woods. This is the other tree course that I was talking about that I think that's better than Maple Treeway. I think I just like courses with lots of Shy Guys in them. I don't know. But can I just start with the fact that you literally start on the side of a massive tree? This breakdown is all over the place, I get it, but that's so sick. The course gets better too. It turns into this treehouse that you go into with all these Shy Guys working and ziplining, and then the way you get out is through this naturally created water slide onto a bunch of lily pads with a bunch of booster pads. This track is so creative and fun to drive through, and even just looking around and admiring the design is great. It's so detailed and looks so amazing. This shortcut's terrible, by the way, but it's just because I can't hit it. If you can hit it, good for you. What else is there to say? I love this course. Animal Crossing. The f is that track name? Couldn't come up with anything else? Okay, moving on. I really enjoy the element of seasons. It's a very small yet unseen thing in Mario Kart. You have a summer, a winter, a fall, and a spring variation of this map, and each of them are super cool. Except for spring, that's probably the worst season. If I had to rank each season in order, it'd probably be spring in last, summer in third, autumn in second, and then winter is by far the best version. Each season looks beautiful and artistically well, and the song also changes depending on the season, so props to them for being able to do that and giving that extra effort. The fruit on the ground acts as a mushroom, and you can collect them. For some reason, every time I race on this track, whether it be online or even on 150 or 200cc CPUs, I always have a close race. Any track that can consistently provide a thrilling close race is a great track. Moonview Highway on the Wii. This course is just better here. The new cars are pretty cool as well. The ability to jump off the surfboard cars, the lights being much brighter. I just purposely love blowing up the bomb cars to screw everyone over. To me though, I think the cars are extremely slow. There's no crazy drunk driver that completely negates all the driving laws. Add that to the fact that once you're done with the cliffside, this map's difficulty turned into something of a mushroom cup. I mean, just look at the chaos when I was recording the Wii segment compared to the city part.
The music switching from this electro vibe to a more jazz and raw instrumentation is great and fits nicely. I believe this ramp over here is also a new addition and a welcomed one. A small detail that I also miss is the license plates. On the Wii, they were like little innuendos to previous Mario games or just little references, and I love slowing down just to read some of them. Now they're just replaced with a 4-digit number. If those minor errors didn't exist in this version, I probably would have it at 5-star, but it's still a lot better than the Wii version. Cheep Cheep Beach from the DS. A solid pick from DS, and it is recreated beautifully. The water is so clear, it reminds me of glacier water. Damn, it looks great. With the implementation of Mario Kart's 8 mechanics, you can now drive through the deep parts of water, whereas on DS, it counted as out of bounds. A weird change personally, you don't really see anybody driving on the actual map now that you can go through water, but it does make sense provided the new mechanics. And it also does provide for great shortcuts. It had to happen eventually. This doesn't get talked about enough, but the transitions from the dock to the beach and then to the jungle parts are very well done and it feels natural. This jungle part is also a great example of 2D sprites being used correctly. There's so much there that they just blend together and create this 3D looking jungle and is highly detailed. But if you slow it down and check it out, you'll realize that they're just flat sprites. What makes it work is the texturing of the sprites and the fact that they point towards you so you can't tell that they're 2D. A great amount of detailing is done in this map, and I very much appreciate it. The Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road. A lot of people don't like this Rainbow Road, and to be quite honest, I really don't know why. The setting of a space station is really cool in my opinion, and even with the realistic setting, it still gives off that Rainbow Road vibe. Yeah, the music is a tad bit subpar and not as magical as all the other Rainbow Roads, with the guitar being the main melody. There's not much else to critique for me. One thing that's always been apparent in every Rainbow Road is the difficulty. This Rainbow Road is arguably more difficult than the Wii's Rainbow Road in my opinion. This turn right here is literally a f***ing death trap. You bump into one single person and you are gone, off the map, nowhere to be seen. The split pathing creates a really good shortcut. Whether it was intentional or not, I have no clue. When comparing this to other Rainbow Roads, it has all the same qualities of what made the other Rainbow Roads great. So I don't know why it isn't respected the same way. But don't worry though, that's why I'm here to serve it justice. Peach Gardens DS. I want to put this in 5 stars so badly with how many positives there are, but there are a couple issues with this course. Minor ones, of course. Starting off, once again, the grass looks terrible. That's all this map is too. Grass and hedges, it's everywhere. Everywhere looks bad. The flower beds are no longer an obstacle course, and they're just shoved to the side. I think cutting one of the flower beds was an actual time save in DS2, and unfortunately they just got rid of it. The item boxes no longer follow the chain chomps in the garden, and I have no idea why this bothers me, but this being cut off is one of the dumbest things ever. Like, who actually is gonna go this way once they learn the map? No one! The reason it was there was just to make this course look natural and look like a garden, and also it was just fun to loop around. The chain chomp dives into the fence too, it looks super stupid. On to the positives. Something I have always wanted to do was drive around the castle, and then boom, all of a sudden just the last lap goes backwards. This is so cool. With the lap now going through the garden backwards, this glider section is completely new and is a great change. I like the Piranha plant more than the whatever design this was in the DS. And other than that, the track is still great and the music still goes hard. Majuri Drive Tour. I knew immediately from the release trailer this was going to be one of the better tour tracks. Immediately, the first thing I noticed was that the buildings were actually textured. They tried to give it a brick design, but even this makes the course look infinitely better than 90% of the tour tracks. Just based on the first lap, there's already so much I enjoy about it. Fun turns, this giant common area with the big wiggler sleeping. He actually wakes up and starts walking around on the second lap, which is cool. The building with all the paintings, a piranha plant is actually popping out of one, which is cool. The third lap has you going into a soccer field, football, and in which all the balls are being kicked around. The audience is kind of close once again. Let me give you a listen to this song because it's one of my favorites from this pass. My main issue and why I'm not putting it in 5 stars is inconsistent texturing. Same problem as DK Mountain. This building gets the brick design, but why not this one? Or this one? I also find it funny how the team doing the booster pass just can't seem to make their grass look good. This glider shows you how bad the quality is especially.
Like, the grass looked great in Piranha Plant Cove. It's even in the same wave, so why was it just like that there and not here? Anyway, great course. Bowser's Castle. This Bowser Castle specifically, it feels like I'm infiltrating it. Like I'm not supposed to be in the castle, yet we're driving in it. I get this feeling because of all of the obstacles. The pendulum, the lasers in the beginning, the giant Bowser punching the ground, the rolling boulders at the end. Nice Indiana Jones reference, I guess, if that is one. The guitar here goes crazy. The rock genre of music that slams. And it's easily the biggest highlight of this course. But one simple thing keeps me from putting it in 5 stars. For a Special Cup course, this layout is way too simple. There are hardly enough turns, a vast majority of them are super soft anyways, and the layout is pretty basic. This also makes the course feel really short in my opinion. I say this because my 2 favorite Bowser castles, GameCube and Wii, feel long and therefore are a lot more fun to drive on because there's so much of it there. Here, a lap is done in like 25 to 30 seconds. Really, really short. 5-star courses, the best of the best, my personal favorites. Let's get onto it with Electrodrome? I always thought it called Electrodome. What's a drome? Anyway, during the Wii U era, this is my favorite course as a child. I still love it now, but now that I've sat down and played this game for 2 weeks straight, ranking 96 courses, it's still one of my favorites. I consider myself to be a very musically involved person. I listen to music all the time, like 24/7. Just look at my Spotify minutes. Any rhythmic or musically based track, I'm gonna love, because that's how I rock. Everyone's just dancing out, having a good time, whether it be on the big screen or the Piranha Plant's just bopping. For the most part, you're driving on the wall or upside down. The part on the wall actually has a small speed change in which you're going faster than normal. It's actually just a regular anti-grav speed change, but it's actually noticeable to me here. After driving on the wall, the track is split into 2 different sections in which they kind of mirror each other. Not in terms of layout, but just one's facing left and one's facing the right. You can see the other track is what I'm trying to say. The weakest part of this track for me are the glider sections. You have all this exciting track design, and then what I feel is supposed to be a break is rather just an uninspired glider section. A great course with an excellent song to complement it, no doubt. SNES Bowser Castle 3. Okay, I digress. We have found a better SNES remake than Rainbow Road. I absolutely love this remake. To start with the course, it takes place right outside the castle, so you're not stuck looking at walls the entire time. This also makes the background more interesting with the volcano and the walls of lava. It all looks so good. The remix of the song is easily the best part. The metal guitar pops off here. I was a huge fan of the SNES version, and they only made it better. The layout itself has major changes. The anti-grav is probably the best it's ever used in the booster pass, even if it's not that much. I mean, look at it, it's just another slight turn. But spin boosters are back, hooray! This specific part where you can drive on the pillars is actually super cool. The pillars themselves are super skinny, so tricking off them and staying on them is quite a challenge that I enjoy. It just feels good when you land on all of them and make it to the end. Despite there being a wall here on this turn, you can still fall off, which I think is actually good from a design choice. A big majority of this course has no walls or implies that wall riding will actually hinder you, so there being a gap here only reinforces that idea that you probably shouldn't be close to the wall. The ending has these thwomps that either block you or have the ability to be tricked off of. I don't think I've ever been so satisfied by tricking off a thwomp before. This is easily the best SNES remake in the history of remakes. Singapore Speedway from Tour. This course looks amazing. It makes me wonder that if a tour track could look this good in this terrible art style, imagine if the same effort was put onto the other tracks. Imagine how great some of the other courses would be visually. Not only that, but the music goes hard too. The track itself has a lot of highlights as well. Usually there's this one visual long shot that the course uses to show off the course's beauty. This one has like 3 of them. The first cannon going up to the skyscraper, then going off the skyscraper, and then this shot. There's also an honorable mention here.
They all look so beautiful with the bright lights and city attributes. This track also has a layout that isn't confusing like other tour layouts. I'm not caught off guard with any of the other turns, and it's a great course to drive on. Just don't make me talk about you guys. Mute City, a very fast-paced track with boosts galore. The fast-paced track is complemented by an amazing song that really gets you hyped and into it. The turns on 200cc can be a bit tricky without brake drifting, but otherwise it's not too complicated. May also mention that this entire course is anti-grav, so you'll get even more boost when bumping into an opponent. To add even more, the starting point that you cross turns into a speed boost itself. This track kills you with speed. That leaves with one small complaint, in that because of all this speed, the track is mostly straight for the most part with hardly any turns. It's kind of like a 8, like a Mario Circuit. All the turns are super soft as well. Fantastic representation of F-Zero though. I love it. Dragon Driftway. This course is tough. I try to get first on all courses for that 3-star trophy, and this course is the most challenging one for me. There are a lot of spots in which you just need to brake drift, which is my only complaint, the reliance on brake drifting. Plus, if it's too much, you can always play 150, unless it's 200 online. Otherwise, you're The entire concept of this course is really cool. You start off by entering this Chinese dragon as well as switching to anti-grav, and then that beginning part makes it feel as if you're just slithering along this dragon the entire track. I feel that because of the twisting turns and the fact that you're upside down or sideways for about 90% of the course. There's also the spin boost that adds the sensation of just twirling around. The theme is also really cool. I mean, like, where else could you find Kung Fu Lakitu? The lanterns in the song also provide a great sense of Chinese folklore that you're surrounded in. Great stuff everywhere. Neo Bowser City 3DS. It's so refreshing to see a Bowser-themed course not revolving around his castle. This course takes place in a massive city that feels like the Blade Runner movies, and it's also raining, which adds this slickness to the course itself. It's most apparent on this hairpin turn right here. The song is very nonchalant and makes this track feel very relaxing despite this big city or environment around you. You don't just drive through the city on a normal traffic road either. You go through these tunnels, onto a bridge, and even a neat glider part that provides a shortcut that requires a little bit of skill. They also added the spin boosters in this loop section, which is a nice addition. All the billboards or giant screens are all advertisements of Bowser or something related to him. I like to think that he's like the mayor of this city or something. I don't know, it's funny to imagine. Waluigi Stadium GameCube. Let me start this off by saying that I was a part of the crowd that wanted Wario Coliseum over this. After release of Wave 4, I still wanted it, but god damn, this is amazing. There's no doubt the best version of Waluigi Stadium. I'm going to compare this to the Wii version because unfortunately I have no way of recording my GameCube. Notice how in the Wii, look at the dirt, look at the mud, look at the lighting. It's all dark and drab and feels very minimum effort. Then you go to this version and bam, the lighting is flippin' amazing. The bright lights shining onto the course and then the mud reflecting it, it looks amazing. It feels like I'm driving in a stadium, like the same ones those monster trucks drive on. The sides are probably the least detailed in this version, and even then it doesn't even look that bad, like the other courses do. Finally, the 2D audience sprites are used correctly, thank God. The half pipes are okay. I think the reason why they aren't that bad is that they aren't put on a sharp turn, so therefore the camera angle isn't that bad. Especially the first one. The hill is so high up that you have a good amount of time to adjust even if it does send you flying. With those half pipes, there are also these raised platforms that you can get into. It's rough trying to get there because of those said camera angles, but other than that, I love their inclusion. A slight change that I do actually like is that they replaced the live piranha plants with mechanical ones. It makes sense because, like, why do you have live ones to begin with? The best part, though, is the music. The live instrumentation shines in this version, especially those dominant trumpets. The staccato notes make this song so lively and jumpy with the saxophone countering it. Man, this track is the closest thing to Base 8 Mario Kart. I'm glad that they perfected this map so it can stop being overrated and overhated. Hyrule Circuit. The Wii U DLC featured a course to represent different Nintendo games. The one based off The Legend of Zelda is an easy 5-star and probably the best one here. There is not a trace of Mario Kart here. Wait, why are there toads here? Anyways, every animal or plant or being is replaced with something local to the Zelda franchise. The piranha plants being replaced with Deku Babas, the coins now being green rupees, and what would be bats are now bunches of keefs. This is epic. They put all of the Zelda sound effects in too, especially on this loop. If you hit all 3 spin boosts, you hear this sound effect, and then a hidden shortcut will open up going through the Master Sword. The track itself isn't even that bad. The markets in the castle make it feel like a real civilization instead of just a regular circuit. The course has some nice feeling turns towards the end in this forest part, and maybe one good shortcut aside from this Master Sword. You can take this shroomless in 200cc as long as you just jump, which is cool. I'm in love with these courses based on other games. Music Park 3DS. Another music theme course. What could I say? This one especially is super creative. There's a musical dynamic to this course in which you just drive on instruments that add to the song. It's really flippin' cool. You bounce on a tambourine and possibly another one for a shortcut. You drive on a piano as well as 2 xylophones. The background characters bop their heads to the beat, and when you have these bouncing chord note characters, they also add to the song when they hit the ground. Running into the wall also makes this harsh sound, which sounds terrible, but yet is also funny whenever you hit it. The course itself looks like something of a stage performance. The way the lights are, the background, it's like a high school or college band concert. There's even giant speakers, no wonder I feel that way. The song itself isn't too much, but it's that dynamic element for the course itself that makes it amazing. Another great course. Mount Wario, a 3-part map that is executed perfectly. To start this course off, you jump out of a helicopter. How cool is that? You then navigate through mountains. The game decides then that you should go into one of those mountains that leads you driving on a dam. Whoa. And then you're dropped into a maze of trees with all these branching paths, and then in the final part, you become a slalom skier. What's probably my favorite part is at the finish is the entrance to the ski resort. That's a cute detail. To start with the beginning, the mountainous part feels like DK Summit, but just done 10 times better. Then going into the mountain with the rushing water is really cool. You get to pick between a glider and boosters. The dam is probably the most underwhelming part here, but still cool nonetheless. I love the forest part because with the branching paths, you have a reason to go for each route. The slalom I enjoy not because of the turns, but because of the view of the mountains in the back. God damn. I'm from Alaska, and I know pretty mountains covered in snow when I see them. Those are definitely it. This is a 5-star course from start to end. DK Jungle 3DS. Okay, there's a little bias with this course. I just do super well racing on this course, and I'm a literal legend at it. This specific DK track had huge inspiration from Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii U, and its presence is immediately felt. The music is an instant upgrade from the 3DS as the audio mixing is a lot better and certain instruments are heard more clearly. The course itself isn't too complicated, but it's what's around the course that makes it charming to me. A powdery flower instead of a mushroom. Goofy little tiki guys. This death bridge that you need an item on. A satisfying glider shortcut. All hail the banana! I think that making this anti-grab and raising the platform makes this section better than the original. It's such a small change, but that speed boost makes the turn all the more thrilling. And these screamer guys. Fun characters all around. I've never played Donkey Kong Country Return, so I have no idea how close this course is to it, but I could get a general idea. It's executed very well here. Rainbow Road from the Wii. I was super scared because we all knew this was going to be the final course. I was nervous because based on how the rest of the booster pass was going, I thought it was going to be a major letdown. Thank God I was wrong. I'm going to start with the super minor, small, not too important thing that I don't like, but part of the song mixes emulated sounds with live instruments, and it's not a good sounding mix in my opinion. The main melody, specifically mixing with the Mario Galaxy counter melody, doesn't sound too good because of the live instrumentation, part of the Mario Galaxy part. But other than that, I don't really have any problems with this course. Unlike the 3DS version, the road is an actual rainbow and radiates color. There's also this glitter on the track that I like. I don't know if that was on other Mario Kart tracks, but I like it. As far as the course itself, you know that I've had a problem with camera angles on the half pipes. I don't have a single problem with any of these half pipes. The camera angles are fine. The trajectory doesn't completely mess you up, and for the most part, the outlook it does give when going up the half pipe is beautiful. The outlook onto the Earth is still perfect, and I'm glad the star bits are back. The whole galaxy aesthetic is perfect, and the automated glider sections are really cool. This section here is done way better in this version than in the Wii version. Same with this half pipe. I love that you start burning up like an asteroid when you fall off the course. When I played this remake for the first time, it genuinely gave me a pretty good laugh. The camera even pans out like it does in the original. I think that this is actually better than the Wii version. This was the best way for them to end the booster pass, and I'm glad they did it as great as this. Twisted Mansion. They just unleashed whatever they thought onto this course, and I'm all for it because it's a haunted mansion. I've always enjoyed the Boo or Haunted Mansion courses in Mario Kart. They always consist of just this innovative creativity. This course starts out wacky as hell with you driving on all the wavy walls and a shifting dining table. The library is the spookiest part and has a nice shortcut in this part too. The water section of this course only works because of the fact that this takes place in a haunted mansion. As you can tell throughout, our elevation never changes before we get to this part, but yet all of a sudden the mansion is submerged in underwater and we're driving upside down. Like what? How does this even work? Even better, it's the middle of the mansion being drowned. Because we're above the courtyard, this glider section takes you over the courtyard. That's dry as hell, what? Flying over the courtyard is cool, but if you're on 200cc, you're guaranteed to hit this railing on the top half. My favorite part is the ending with the statues being possessed and slamming their giant hammers into the ground. The Boos then do their goofy ah laughs and all as well. A quick mention of the song, but this is one of my personal favorites from Mario Kart 8. Shy Guy Falls. The best newly introduced course is Shy Guy Falls. The song is a masterpiece. The Shy Guys once again doing manual labor and singing along when you pass them is also creative. My favorite part of this course is driving up the water stream just to go turn around and go straight down a waterfall. I'm so glad anti-grav was introduced because as cool as this is, this would have never been able to be made if there was no anti-grav. Then to make it even better, you take a glider off said waterfall. There's even a rainbow coming off of the stream, which is a small detail that I've always enjoyed. Looks pretty. The turns are super fun to take, and the track has that perfect pace. The shortcuts are well built around as well, and aren't super obvious like how a decent amount of shortcuts usually are. Easily the best new course in the game. Grumble Volcano Wii. I can understand how people don't like this on the Wii, and I know it also makes me seem like a Wii stan because 2 of the top 5 are retros from Wii. I'm not, but I'm just here to say that they perfected this map in 8. My main problem with the Wii version was once again the camera angle. Too close to the character, which sometimes made you feel as if the fireballs came out of nowhere. Here, it's more panned out. You have way more time to react so that dodging them is actually skill rather than luck. A massive visual upgrade too. Look at this montage shot. What the f***? That lava looks so real. This entire course looks so realistic. Nothing even compares. This course just absolutely on everyone who says that the hardware can't handle the amount of detail that newer releases on other platforms release. Mario Kart 8 in general just on that. For those that don't know, the gimmick of this course is that as time goes on, the course starts falling apart, which is perfect for something located at a volcano. It's almost as if the course is suffering from the fact that the volcano is erupting and active. Once you enter the volcano, there are a lot of split paths. There's no better choice, so it's just personal preference, which gives reason to having a split path. They implemented a glider section leaving the volcano, which is fine by me. Then at the end of the course, there's the fireball and fire snakes that you have to dodge with even more split pathing. I saved the best for last. The music, of course. Just take a listen. You get that sensation as if you're trying to escape this place. A super fast-paced song that sounds tragic. This is my most played course for a reason. Easily the best course in the game if it weren't for Big Blue. Yeah, I think everyone saw this coming, but I genuinely do believe that this is the best map and I'm not just some bandwagoner. To start with, this is a 3-part track, so therefore you're never seeing the same thing, which also leads to more creativity, and boy do we have it. I forgot to mention this when doing Mute City, but these pads over here give you coins, and you could easily get to 10 coins just by driving over them for a couple seconds. There are so many fun and sharp turns in the beginning, and the boosted turns are super fun. This creates the only instance in which I think brake drifting is fun. The music just sets the pace and action of the course. Like, listen to this. This song is a saxophonist's wet dream. The course then branches off into split paths in which they have a stream of water down them. This also creates an ultra shortcut. I hate how people complain if a course doesn't have enough shortcuts, but then when there's like a massive one that can lead to a massive lead change, they hate it. Like, just learn the cut. Simple. The third part of this course has to be the most fun and impressive part. The next thing is single-handedly the coolest thing in the game. You flip upside down on a bunch of conveyor belts, then drive below a ceiling of fucking water. That's the trippiest thing ever. How come F-Zero got all this cool shit? If you love F-Zeros this much, make a modern game already. It's hard to tell, but the last split path has you going straight up into the sky to the ending, which is the spaceship. You can also tell because you can just see the jet engines blazing it up, but what a dope way to end the race. The F-Zero maps also have their own ending theme. All the courses based off of other Nintendo games do, but this and Yoshi Islands are the only ones worth mentioning. What a best track in the game. It definitely deserves that title. Well, there you have it. After 27 pages of script, all 96 tracks are ranked. As I said before, I bought this game twice in the original Wii U DLC, so hearing 48 new tracks for $25 was the best thing imaginable. More Mario Kart means more fun, but as a lifelong Nintendo fan, this criticism of the majority of the booster courses comes from all good. Have you ever bought something and felt like they could do better? That's how I felt with this. 9 years ago, we saw better quality. I'm not saying hate on everything and complain about everything, but I'm critical of this because of the fact that I've been playing this game for 9 years. I'm having fun with the booster pass, no doubt, but there was a noticeable downgrade in quality. As for ranking the tracks, I'm sure in a month or two this will change a bit, but in my current state of mind, this is where I think all the tracks belong in order. If you made it to the end, that's cool. This is probably the biggest thing I've ever done in terms of videos. I've played Mario Kart basically my entire life, so this game holds great significance to me. Anyways, now that the booster pass is over, I'm excited to see what's in store for Mario Kart 9. I wonder where they'll take these mechanics and can't wait to see what they add. No, I'm not counting Tour's Mario Kart 9. That's all for me now though. I usually just make short Let's Plays and I'll probably go back to it after this. Anyways, peace y'all.